Well, this has happened. This large stack of supplements in front of me may have given it away, but I am very proud and excited to announce that I am now an ESN athlete, which I'm still yet to come to terms with ever since they approached me. This is the first time in my life I have experienced imposter syndrome. But that has to be a good thing, right? ESN is the leading supplement company in Europe, and they have now breached across to the UK, and I am very fortunate to be a part of their growing team with some phenomenal athletes. ESN stands for Elite Sports Nutrition. They have the top level athletes at the forefront of their mind when formulating these products, when making these products. I would never be part of a team that sold something that I don't already use or don't already believe in. I've been using ESN for best part of 6 months now. Not something that I have posted on social media because of previous contractual obligations. However, when this opportunity got presented to me, I was taken back, but also didn't have any second thoughts at the opportunity to work with the guys at ESN. And I'm super excited at the future and the opportunities that are going to come from this to work with so many other amazing athletes and the opportunities that these guys are going to give me. So if you would like to support me, then please use the code Aaron Aesthetics at the checkout. This will grant you 10% off all of your orders, and it will also grant you, if there's any other offers on, whether that be 20% off proteins, free samples, you can use that at the checkout. Some of my favorites is the whey protein, in particular, the Leon cereal. It actually has bits of cereal in there, which is mental. The crank pump is absolutely insane as well. And rice pudding, they're probably my top 3 favorite at the minute. But I'm super excited to go through these, and we'll have lots of other informational videos coming out around some of these products and supplementation. I wouldn't be in this position if you guys didn't show the support and invested in me up until this point to allow me to capitalize on these opportunities and work with such an amazing company. So thank you all so much, because I wouldn't be here without your investment, your engagement, your support with all of the companies that I've worked with up until this point. And I'm super excited to be with ESN, and I don't see myself ever changing going forwards. This really is like the pinnacle of supplementation. So super blessed to be able to work with these guys at this point in my career or journey, or whatever you want to call it. I'm very proud and excited to announce I am now an ESN athlete. Now the announcement is out the way, I thought we'd run through a Q&A, something that I haven't done on my YouTube channel for years. And it's a great opportunity on YouTube to answer the questions in a longer format and give me the opportunity to provide more value rather than a quick Instagram story. So I put an Instagram story up with a question box for all of you guys to put in as many questions as you'd like. And we're going to run through all of them within this video here. I'm going to get Sean to read out the questions. I am yet to see them, so you will get my honest and raw answer to every single question.
Right, so Aaron, first question. What's your advice on getting a good upper back, as it's my main weak point?
So, anytime you have a weak body part, the first thing you need to address is exercise execution. Before you go and add extra volume, add extra frequency, you need to address execution. So when it comes to the upper back, all of your upper back musculature sits on top of your scapula. So it is so important that you are taking your scap through full protraction and full retraction. That is step number 1. A common mistake I see people make when it comes to upper back training is they travel in the same direction as the weight. They'll reach forwards, they'll lean back, but that way you are not taking your upper back musculature through its full range. I will put clips on the left side of the screen of me executing what I feel is a perfect upper back row. I lean back slightly, for better alignment of the upper back. I ensure my spine stays completely fixed. Everything works around the spine. As I reach into that length and range, I will almost lean back into that stretch, allow for full protraction around my spine, and as I row, I will then stick my chest out, retract hard, and think about wrapping my arms around my rib cage. This is so important. So if you can nail down the function of the scap, take it through its full range, you are going to massively improve your upper back. Then you need to pick exercises that you connect well with, you can progress safely, and that is going to make such a difference. Then you can start playing around with frequency and hitting that upper back more frequently throughout the week. Then start playing with extra volume once you can recover from the volume that you have set. But most importantly, it comes down to execution.
Next one. Do you think going assisted has benefited your mental health in a positive way?
I would say from my experiences so far, it has both positively affected my mental health and negatively affected my mental health. Positively, I'm working towards my dreams, my goals. I'm taking steps towards that. Obviously, higher testosterone comes with more motivation, more drive. So that would positively affect my mental health. I'm very excited at the thought of every single day and working towards that huge life goal. But it's negatively affected my mental health purely from experiencing slightly higher anxiety levels. My ability to tolerate stress, I would say, is slightly lower. So when workload is getting very intense and very high, I find myself getting a little more anxious and stressed than I normally would. So I would say certain areas have been positively affected and certain areas have been negatively affected. That's a personal experience. I feel like I'm a very stable individual, and I feel like if you go into the world of PEDs struggling with a lot of things anyway mentally, it's going to make it a hell of a lot worse. As I've mentioned in previous videos, they enhance everything that is already there.
Okay, next question. What are your thoughts on reverse versus recovery diets post-prep?
That's a very good question. I feel like the post-prep phase is the most mismanaged and miscoached phase in the industry, and I feel like it is crucial that you approach that phase so sensitively, so carefully, to ensure that athlete is protected post-show and can set themselves up for a really successful off-season. I see so many people ruin their off-seasons by mismanaging that post-show period. So before I answer this question, I think it's really important to define what each of those approaches are, because I feel like definitions can get blurred a little bit within the industry. So my understanding of what a post-show reverse diet is a very slow linear increase of calories from your baseline set point before you went into peak week. So slowly adding calories every single week to slowly bring your body weight up. And then I understand that a recovery diet is a bigger initial bump to your baseline calories post-show to allow for a slightly more aggressive rate of gain to get more body fat on and help your physique, help your hormonal profile recover post-show. So I believe, especially as a natural athlete, you should be undergoing a recovery diet and experiencing a larger increase initially out the gate to your initial baseline calories from prep. You need to gain 3 to 4 kilos of body fat straight out the gate if you are in legit stage condition. And I think this is another caveat to which approach you should take, because if you're not in legit stage condition, a reverse diet is going to be more applicable, because you're not actually needing to recover quite as much as someone who's got legit fat-free. So if you are fat-free, you need a recovery diet. You need to add a bigger bump initially, somewhere around 500 to up to 1,000 calories up from your baseline to encourage that body weight to rise quite quickly for the initial few kilos. You are therefore going to gain some body fat, which is necessary to start regaining an optimal hormonal profile and allow your body to recover. it is not sustainable to stay in legit stage condition, and you will only prevent that recovery process from happening and getting your body in a position to start progressing well within an off season. So that is step number one. If you're in stage condition, absolutely go for a recovery approach. If you are not in stage condition, I think a linear approach is probably the better option here. And I think another caveat, if you're an assisted bodybuilder, I feel like you have the ability to reverse out of the show slightly quicker and not make as aggressive of initial bump, because you have PEDs to replace that suboptimal hormonal environment that a natural gets into when they get in legit stage condition. So I would normally go for a recovery diet with the majority of my clients, but there is some exceptions. If you haven't got in legit stage condition and if you are an assisted athlete, I think you can take a slightly slower approach.
So, next question. Have you got any ideas on what song you would like to do your routine to?
Yes. This is something that I've been thinking about ever since I stepped off stage on my last prep. I absolutely love creating a routine. It's an opportunity to express your physique in your own way, hit poses that you can't hit in all of the mandatories and quarter turns. So I absolutely love the art of posing and that opportunity, and it means a lot to me to create something special for that, especially because one of my main goals this year is to represent what I truly think classic is, and the posing routine is an opportunity to do that. So I've been creating a long list of songs on Spotify as like a posing playlist that I've been kind of freestyling to throughout the off season, and just creating an awesome playlist that is also good for training as well, but great to pose to. So I will put a link in the description of my posing playlist. It's called Classic Flow. So some of you guys can go have a little look. You might be able to guess which song I'm choosing in that short list. I think there's about 50 plus songs on there already, but I've personally whittled it down to 3 songs. They're all very similar in the style. I'm a big fan of cinematic, theatrical kind of music with huge beats, impactful beats that I can pose to. It's slightly more challenging from a difficulty point of view because you need to be on the ball with timing. But I really enjoy that challenge, and I love not the suspense, but the captivation that you can create with a song like that. It's very loud, very impactful. I love a slower song and a bit more of an emotional song, because I think it's so important in a routine to create emotion and kind of captivate the audience on that front. So that will be there as a possibility. And maybe I'll create more than one routine this year, because I'm going to have multiple shows, so multiple opportunities to do that if I feel like I can take that on. But I'm not going to tell anybody, not until I step out on stage for the first time. So if you're going to want to see that, you're going to want to come in person, or I'm sure you'll see it on social media. So I've whittled it down to 3. I need to decide very shortly on my final decision, and then I may do a bonus extra routine for one of the later shows. We will see. And for any of you guys who can't remember my last routine, I was so happy with how that came out for my first ever routine on stage. So I'll play that for you now as a bit of a reminder, because it's that kind of style, but obviously something a little more difficult now that I'm more experienced and have more expertise with posing. So I want to try and push the boat out a little more, make it a little more challenging with the flows, the transitions. Give that a little watch now. So I'm very excited to bring that to you all this year when the time comes. And I'm going to try and create it myself this year. The last routine, I had some help from a previous posing coach, and I may go back to Ryan because he was unbelievable, but I want to try and take the challenge on myself this year and create something by myself.
So I really like this question. There's 5 main things, whether it be training, nutrition, mindset, etc., that you've learned so far from Dan.
Well, that is a good question. I've been coached by Dan for over 3 years now, so it's quite hard to whittle that down because I've learned so much from him. He's massively excelled me, not only as an athlete, but also as a coach. So one of the biggest things that I've learned from Dan is the importance of keeping the body sensitive and responsive in whatever phase you do, especially the off season. When your body is responsive and sensitive, you are going to maximize your ability to progress. So keeping that environment as sensitive as possible, insulin sensitivity nice and high, is absolutely critical. Insulin is the transportation hormone. It transports amino acids, glycogen to the muscles, and when that is maximized, you will make so much more progress. So we have never pushed my body to the point where it's become irresponsive, to the point where digestion has downregulated, to the point where appetite has downregulated, to the point where I'm not getting as good pumps in the gym, or I'm not sleeping as well, or stress is too high. We have always made a massive effort to keep the environment that I execute in as sensitive as possible. So this is one of the biggest things that I've learned from Dan, being patient with those progressions of food and all of the other metrics to ensure that I can stay in this environment and allow my body to adapt as we climb on the scales. And that's definitely been one of the biggest things I've learned from him. Number 2 is delayed gratification. Dan is not a coach to blow smoke up your ass and give you compliments week on week. I have to earn a compliment from Dan, and that keeps me working very hard, and it also means a lot more when I get that feedback from him. And naturally, as a people pleaser myself, I have in the past given out too many compliments to my clients, I feel, and learning that off him and how it feels as a client to get those compliments when he doesn't just dish them out all the time, has definitely improved my approach as a coach and when I offer out compliments. You can say someone's looking good, but I mean like true compliments, and I think it's going to improve the athlete when you take that approach, in my opinion, rather than just cuddling them all the time and giving them loads of compliments, because that will prevent them from working harder. So he is very reserved with his compliments. I think that's another big thing that I've learned from him. So the third main thing that I learned from Dan is just attention to detail, especially when he navigated me through last year's prep. He opened my eyes up to what legit coaching is, especially in a prep scenario. His attention to detail, to every single variable, his communication, he was on to me all the time so we could make the best decisions possible. And I never had that in my previous preps from my previous coaches. So he really showed me what levels there are to coaching, the daily check-ins, the constant manipulations throughout peak week and the final stages of prep. And that's massively leveled me up as a coach, because the reassurance, the confidence, the security, the lack of stress that was created in that environment that he made massively impacted the final look in a positive way. So I learned that from him and how important that is when I was navigating my clients throughout prep, especially the first timers. Because when you apply that much focus, that much attention, that much energy into someone, it's going to lead to a better result because they have a really good understanding, they're stress-free, and you can make the correct decisions then to bring them in at their best. Number 4 would be the importance of nutrition. My previous coaches always had me on macros. I was always making my own decisions when it came to food. But when I switched to Dan, I went straight to a meal plan approach, and the amount of changes he made on the nutritional front massively leveled me up as an athlete, and it's continued to reinforce how important food is, nutrition is, nutritional choices. Yes, hitting macros is large part of whether you're in a surplus or a deficit, But when you have control over meal timings, macronutrient distribution, the micronutrients you select within your diet, you can make a huge difference to your overall progress. And he's really opened my eyes up to that. My digestion, my insulin sensitivity has never been better. My recovery has never been better. And a large part of that is down to the nutritional choices that I now make. Single ingredient foods, loads of colours, loads of different decision making when it comes to nutrient timing, and the way he sets everything up with the food has been another huge area that he's improved for me, and something that I've massively valued now in all of my clients is the way that they approach their nutrition. And finally, on the training front, it would be learning when to pull back. I struggle massively with taking deloads, with pulling back when I really should. I've just got that all or nothing mindset. I need somebody to pull me back and make me realise that you can't just gung-ho, foot to the floor the whole time. He taught me that longevity is so important within this sport, and the approaches to his training in order for me to keep as injury-free as possible and continue progressing has massively helped, and something that I didn't have previously. So that would be my 5 things off the top of my head. There is so many more. He's been incredible, and I've massively leveled up as a coach, as an athlete, as a result of that.
Okay, next question. What are your 3 top tips for a first timer?
So my top 3 tips for first timers is, number 1, give yourself enough time. So many people think they can get in legit stage condition in under 16 weeks. That will not happen. You need to give yourself enough time to account for illnesses, to account for events out of your control that may pull you out of a deficit. You need to account for abilities to pull back, because your first time trying to get in stage condition, your body will fight back more than any other prep. It is a survival mechanism that is ingrained in your body. It doesn't want to get to survival levels of body fat. So it will fight back, so you need to take a much slower approach, and giving yourself enough time is one of the most important things you can do to ensure a successful prep. And that brings me on to tip number 2, is nail your start position. If you can start your prep in a sensitive and responsive position with your body, not at peak off-season body weight, at around 15 kilos above your estimated stage weight, you are going to have a much more enjoyable and smooth prep. People trying to take off over 20 kilos of body weight in a prep is not going to lead to the best end result, because you're likely going to have to push very aggressively, sustain a very high rate of loss, and it isn't manageable in comparison to a prep where you only need to lose 15 kilos. So start prep with calories as high as you can, expenditure relatively low, in a sensitive position around 15 kilos above stage weight. And my very last tip is to get a coach who's walked the walk. Have somebody in your corner who can guide you through that process, minimize stress, lay out what to expect, and relate when you are going through it. They can provide relatability, advice to help you get through, and most importantly, manage you through that post-show phase correctly, so you can stay in the sport, enjoying it, and want to prep again in the future.
Next question.
Yeah.
What's one of the things that you hate most in the fitness industry right now?
So I would say one of the things that I hate the most is poor coaching. It's an unregulated space. Anybody can be an online coach these days. And I've had first-hand experience recently with lots of people being mismanaged through preps, through different phases, due to really poor coaching. I love this sport so much, and I want to pass that on to everybody, especially my clients. And when I see people being mismanaged very poorly through different phases, especially prep, and I'm seeing people come out the back end of preps with borderline eating disorders, with no love for the sport, almost a hatred towards the sport purely because they've been mismanaged, health issues because they've been mismanaged through a prep. Especially, I've seen people getting coached to stage by a coach who's never been on stage, which is absolutely mental. You wouldn't go and get driving lessons off somebody who doesn't know how to drive a fucking car. It's exactly the same. And it just winds me up so much, because I see so many people with potential, with a love for the sport, that gets coached so incorrectly, and it frustrates the hell out of me, because there are so many people who are taking an individual's health, mental health, physical health into their hands, and they do not understand the responsibility of that and how important it is. So that is definitely the thing that I hate the most in this industry, is the fact that it's unregulated and so many people are falling out of love with the sport or not seeing the progress they should because of straight up poor coaching.
Next question.
Yep.
Are you going to be filming a prep series at all?
Yes. This is something that I want to do and something that I'm going to commit to. 1 video per week for as much of the prep as possible, and then hopefully up the frequency to 2 times a week, 3 times a week as we get closer to the main shows of the season. I need a prep name though. I feel like you can't do a prep series without a prep name, and I ain't doing any of this shit like Road to Pro or any of that bollocks, because that isn't what this season is about. So get your comments below on what you think I should call the prep series. I'm thinking something along the lines of defining classic, because as I've mentioned, that's a huge goal for me this year, is to set the standard on what I truly believe classic is, from a presentation point of view, from an execution point of view of how I execute the prep, how I've executed the off season. I just feel like that could really summarize what I want to achieve within this prep and what's important to me. So I think that could be quite a cool name. But let me know in the comments in case anybody comes up with something much better and probably much catchier than that.
Classic 101.
Boring.
It's not boring.
Classic 101, what do you mean?
So, next question. If you could make your own ideal bodybuilder using body parts from bodybuilders that you look up to, how would you build your bodybuilder?
Oh my God. It's quite a big question. Oh my word. Right, okay. So I would say I'm going to try and stay in the classic division so it's relevant, because I feel like lots of people have done this with old school bodybuilders in the open. So I'm going to make this a classic version with current IFBB pros in the classic division. So let's go from the ground up. I don't even know with calves. I don't ever look at calves when I look at a physique unless they are glaringly weak. So God knows whose calves I will choose. So let's skip the calves. Let's go up to the quads. I'm going to go with Mike Summerfield's quads. They are borderline too big for classic, but if we're trying to maximize a physique here, that's who I'm going for. I think Mike Summerfield's quads. Coming from the rear, we've got to pick somebody who's got stripped out hamstrings and glutes. I'm going to tie them together. Let's go with... I'm actually going to go with Terrence's glutes and hamstrings, which might be a bit of a surprise, but I think the shape of his glutes, it looks like a real butterfly. I just like the shape of them, and he normally gets them granite hard anyway. So that's the lower ticked off. Coming on to the back. Who's got the best back in the classic division? I would say Wesley's probably got the best back in the classic physique division, I believe. Yeah, so let's go with Wesley there. God, who's got delts? I'm going to go with One Punch Naz's delts, because I looked on his story the other day and his delts were like Death Star delts. They were ridiculous. So got to shout out the UK classic physique scene. So we're going to go with Naz's delts. Arms. Who's got great arms? I'm going to kick myself when I watch this back and I realise who I've missed out. I'm going to go with Logan Franklin's midsection. I think his obliques are razor sharp. Midsection's very well developed. His vacuum's pretty good as well. So I'm going to go with Logan's midsection. So that just leaves him with arms and chest. So for arms, got to go Ramon Dino. Purely because of how wild his forearms are. I don't think his upper arm's crazy, but it's very good still. So we're going to go for Ramon's arms. And finally, for the chest, I'm going to cheat here because he's retired, but got to go see Bump's chest. His chest is absolutely huge from a structure point of view. So let's put that bodybuilder together in your head. I think he'd do pretty well. He'd probably be unbeaten in the classic physique division. That's a good question.
That's hard. That was really hard. Because everybody always does that, and they're like, Dorian Yates' back, Ronnie Coleman's chest, and it's just quite easy to put together. But from the current classic physique division, a little harder. That was a quick Q&A. Sorry that I didn't get through all questions. I just didn't want this video to be too long. And I'm sure I will do more of these as we navigate throughout prep. I get a little bit lost for content ideas. But I've got the first few weeks planned. The next video will be the Lisbon vlog. We have filmed a shit ton. So you'll be seeing that in the next week or so once we get that edited. And then the next video after that will be the first video of the prep series. Super excited to bring that to you guys and excited to document the whole process so I can look back on it and hopefully provide some value along the way. I just kind of want to document it, a bit like vlog style, but maybe at the end of each video I'll sit down and discuss a certain topic so I can provide some value there. But let me know what you guys would like to see in that prep series. So a prep series name in the comments of what you'd like to see in that prep series will go a long way for me. So please get down in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Make sure you turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss any of these prep videos as we work our way to the first show of the season. I believe I'm not even 18 weeks out from the first show. So it's going to come around very quickly. Excited to document it. So I will see you all in the next video.